Hello everyone. Before we begin, the opening story you're gonna hear comes to us from I'm a Scallywag on Reddit. He has asked that I plug his Substack, which is in the description below. I do want to say that this is a throwback video, meaning it was created a long time ago and it was shared on my old channel. With that said, I suppose we'll begin today's video. Okay, so I'm staying in a Canadian big city, traveling with my little sister. It's summer and the weather is gorgeous. I'm going to say we were walking down the street when this encounter happened, but I'm not entirely sure about that, to tell you the truth. All this was 2 or 3 years ago now. There are details that I'll remember until the day I die, but the rest has already begun to fade. We stopped at a dispensary to buy some pre-rolls. Then the two of us parked ourselves on the sidewalk and went to smoke them. We were close to our hotel, and once we got there, we knew there'd be an elevator ride between us and our addiction. So we were planning to stand around for a while and chain smoke for a bit. I've got my lighter in hand, but I haven't ignited it yet. Before I continue, I may have to describe this lighter to you, because it actually might matter in some sort of terrifying, symbolic way. I just bought it in anticipation of these pre-rolls, maybe about a half hour before meeting the man that I believe to be the devil. The lighter had a Keith Haring print on it, often called the three-eyed monster. Here's an explanation I just cut and pasted from Google. The quote, smiley face, is another frequently used character found in many of Keith Haring's works. This icon, the three-eyed face, is a mysterious figure, often associated with greed and excess. Alternatively, this character has been used to represent the unknown. I've got my lighter in hand, but I haven't ignited it just yet. The exact moment I flick the flame, I see a suited man exiting the 5 guys we were standing in front of. My first thought, the moment I saw him, was, but he doesn't eat. When I recalled that thought later on, from the safety of our hotel, it made my skin feel cold. The suited man acknowledges no one as he storms out of the burger joint. He simply raises his hand high, as if hailing no taxi in particular, and demands, lighter. This aloof behavior is kind of bemusing to me. So I wave at the suited man, offering the service of my lighter. He walks toward us slowly, but much too deliberately, and the two of us already began to recoil a little at his aura. His suit is meticulous. I've never seen a fabric exactly like it. It's a dark blue color, with thin silver threads, probably a $10,000 to $20,000 suit, which isn't really a strange thing to see in the big city. But this one stands out somehow. I hate including this detail in my story because it seems like the most hack way a writer would describe the devil's attire. But I have to, because it feels important to be honest about it. The suited man stopped in front of me and I said something, I don't remember what. Just a few words of relatively normal small talk, I think. I want to say I asked, "What are you doing in the city?" But that could just be my imagination filling in whatever I've forgotten. While he spoke, I watched the suited man reach into the breast pocket of his suit and retrieve a comedically short cigar stub. There was barely any cigar left to smoke, and he hadn't even cut the ash from the tip. Yet somehow this last detail didn't seem to produce any mess whatsoever. The suited man took my lighter and lit his cigar stub effortlessly, like it was only a cigarette. Not once had he glanced at my little sister, by the way, who was standing directly beside me. That registered as odd to me by this point. Really odd. After inhaling, he looked over at the lighter for a long moment, then announced, "I like your lighter." I can tell he was about as impressed by Keith Haring's artwork as I am. "How much?" the suited man asked. "It's just a lighter, mate," I told him, shrugging. Like I alluded to above, I don't like Keith Haring all that much, and I didn't mind the idea of parting with it. We had lighters in the hotel room anyway, We'd just forgotten to bring them with us. No big deal. Take it, I offered. The suited man ignored me and reached into his pocket to retrieve his wallet. Now he's counting hundreds out loud, his fingers flicking through the bills in a spidery way that's unsettling to watch. 100, 200, 3, 4... What the hell is happening? I forget what I said, something bewilderingly passive and non-confrontational like, It's really okay, man. I just wanted the suited man to walk away with the lighter already. I regretted ever inviting him to approach us. There was something about standing so close to him that felt like standing on the edge of a dizzying height. Once he counted past $1,000, my little sister blurted something out. I think it was 1,000.
You're crazy. What is he doing?
I'm almost certain that's what she said. My little sister didn't sound amused or entertained by the situation at all. She sounded more shocked and worried about it. It was the voice you would use with a creep at the bar. The suited man stared bloody daggers at her. It was terrifying. His eyes lit up with pure malice, and his lips peeled back for a moment in this awful, awful snarl. We're talking. He growled at her. Just those 2 words, and they felt so loaded. The men are talking, it said. Then the suited man looked at me with reproach, like I was at fault for not having her under control, for letting a girl interrupt our important business. It's just the lighter, I repeated, sounding more like a person being mugged than someone being offered money. All I wanted was to get some distance between us. You can have it, really, it's okay. This was not the answer he wanted. He'd already counted the grand he had in his wallet, and now he was pulling more loose cash from his pockets in a weird frenzy. At this point, he's insisting that I give him a price for it. Any price. He honestly seems kind of worried about something now. Scared, maybe. He's like panicking. It's like he's trying to buy something he wants dearly, and he sees the opportunity passing him by. I've had a lot of friends ask me why I didn't take the suited man's money. Some almost seemed pissed at me for not taking it. If they believed me at all, that is. The honest answer is I'm decently lucky in life and I didn't need it. But that's not what I actually think happened, though. It's just hard to explain this to people and not have them focus on the money. I felt like the suited man was actually correct somehow, and I had been wrong. It wasn't just a lighter. It suddenly felt inexplicably valuable. Not the lighter itself, which was already in his pocket, but the transaction taking place. Really creepy. I was mugged at knife point once in Australia when I was young. I was scared then, really scared. But this was a different type of fear. I've only felt this kind of terror once in my life. There was no adrenaline, like the fight or flight in me had been muffled somehow. It was like being soul-sucked by a dementor, as silly as that sounds. Every second spent even discussing this transaction was spiritually draining to the point of actual physical exhaustion. I told the suited man, no, one last time. Then my little sister and I promptly began walking in the other direction. Pretty soon, we were running. In broad daylight, running down the street like someone was chasing us. We made it to the hotel and then we rode the elevator in total silence, both still shaken by our encounter. Once we got to our room, we started smoking in the bathroom like degenerates. And suddenly, this profound wave of relief came over us. We were giddy, like you get when you have a near-death experience. Finally, one of us asked, "Was that the devil?" And the other answered instantly, because we'd both been thinking it. It's a story that feels both silly and underwhelming to tell, but it still makes me uneasy thinking about it. I think the devil was trying to buy her soul from me.